Hey, this is part 2 of knitting a scarf on the loom. This is what you want your final product to look like, infinity. So, in order to do that, you have, I'm assuming, made it to the length you want. This is how long mine is. So, the first thing you'll want to do is you'll want to take the loops from one side of your loom, doesn't matter which side, and pull them over to the other side, like so. So you're just transferring them to the other side, so it'll look like this. So do that for all the loops on one side of the loom. Sometimes they can be a little tricky. Okay, so once you have transferred them to this side, it'll look like this, just like it would if you had wrapped them around. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take the bottom one, like you usually do, and loop it over the top one. And that way, you are ending it, and then you are left with just one loop for this end of the scarf. Just push them down. Now this is the tricky part. Sometimes I have trouble with this. Not this part, but actually it's the next part. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this end of your scarf and you're going to want to shove it through this. Sometimes it's easier if you go from this side. And just take it through. Oh, I am failing right now. Alright, so make sure that when you do it, it's not twisted. There's no like twist in it, so you just want to keep it flat like that. So once you have it through, I have succeeded in not getting it through a couple times now. Just kind of pull it over to this side, like that. Now this really is the tricky part. You're going to want to try to loop these loops at the very end over the empty pegs. So in theory, you'd want to find 9. Sometimes that's kind of hard. So you kind of just have to feel it out for a little bit. Start on one side and just kind of work your way around. Not really an expert at this, but if you don't get all the loops right, it can kind of mess up your scarf. So you really have to look for the end ones. It's the end ones you have to worry about. That's what'll make it look kind of weird if you don't get it right. So when you do this, you're putting, really it looks like you're putting 2 loops over it. See how I have 2? And really it's just these like really loose loops at the end. And sometimes I transfer them over, but normally there'll be 2, it looks like 2 loops will be on it. It's not always perfect, but you just kind of have to see which ones fit. And it looks like I got really super lucky this time. Usually I have a lot of difficulty with this. So it's going to look like this at the end. So as you can see, there's it looks like I have 2 loops on here. So you just kind of take the end of your scarf and loop them over. Really, they're kind of only considered 1 loop. So what you do with these is once you get those really fat ones on, you're going to want to take the loops that you were just knitting over, and you're going to want to transfer them to the other side. And then when it's on the other side, flip that loop over. So transfer to this side. It's kind of hard because they're like really taking up a lot of space. So transfer over and then take those two kind of looking loops over the one that you just transferred over. Transfer it and then loop this one over the one you just transferred. Like that. I'm doing them one at a time like this. Normally I would just transfer them all over and then flip them up, but it's kind of easier to keep track of this way of which ones are being transferred and which ones are the ones you need to flip up, because it looks like there's so much yarn on this side of the loops. It kind of gets confusing of which is which, so it's just kind of easier for me to keep track of what's what this way. Like that. And then the last one, so one more time, take it over, transfer it, and then on this side, take those really big loops, flip it up, and then push it down. And now it is all on one side, as you can see. So once you've done this, take this string. So this is a string that my ball is really tiny now. What you want to do is, I give myself about that much. Extra doesn't hurt because you'll just cut it off at the end anyways. So I just leave that hanging there. And this is where you first started your scarf, so just leave that at the end. So then what you want to do is take this newly cut string that's attached to your ball and start off on one end of your loom. Give yourself some extra string right there. So then what you're going to want to do is you're going to basically string this string all the way through these loops. Now the easiest way to do that is almost like you're knitting it, but without pulling it over. So what you do is I put it over like this, so it lays like that, and then take the bottom loop. So so instead of going over the peg, just take it, and with this sharp point, take that string and then pull it through the loop like that. And just keep doing that with all of them. So take the loop, hook the string, and then, oh, am I doing this correctly? No, I'm not. I need to start from this end. There is an end that you start at. Start at the end and then work your way this way. That makes more sense, because then when you pull it through, you'll be going this direction. Can't really pull it through the other direction. Okay, let's start over. So take your loop, grab onto the string, and then with that, sometimes it doesn't want to cooperate, but basically you're just pulling that string through the loop. Hope this is easy for you to see. So hold it like this, take it through the loop, and pull it through. So just do that for all the loops. That way your scarf will not fall apart. Sometimes it gets caught on the loop that you're trying to pull it through, and you can just start over. So once you finish with that, I usually double back through, so just kind of do exactly what you did this time. So give yourself some extra string, just kind of pull it through. And then you're just going to go back through. So flip it over this way, and then if if this works. I might be undoing it if I do this. Oh no, it doesn't. Okay. So I just double do it, just, you know, makes me feel better. So just do exactly what you did, but just go the opposite direction. So put it over the loop, and then pull that string through the loop, all the way through. So that way there's a string running through all the loops, and then not get undone. Not quite sure if this is the right way to do it. This is just the way that I taught myself to do it. So once you've done that, then you start tying a lot of knots. So what you do is, this is the string that's still attached to your ball. I just tie the string that we were using to string through all the loops. I just tie it in a knot. And then I just tie it in another knot. Can't really have too many knots. So once I've done that, it's not going anywhere. You are safe to take it off the peg. So what you do is you just unhook it, all of them, which is scary at first because you always kind of wonder in the back of your mind if it's going to all unravel, but it won't. So then what you do, it's also, if you have a ball like mine, you probably need to cut your string, so cut as much string as you want. You won't tie 1,000 knots with it. So when you take it off, it's going to look like this. You hold it like that. See, mine, as you can see, kind of has, it looks like it has a little extra, you know, on this end. And it kind of like, see how it's not like perfectly flush? That's what I'm talking about when you're trying to like loop those really big loops over. It kind of looks kind of funny because it's not completely straight, but it's close enough, not to worry. So with those strings that you were using to actually knit it that we cut before we loop the string through the other loops, I like to tie those together just for continuity. Just kind of make sure that that is completely done. So I just tie two or three knots like that. And this looks pretty good. I don't think I'll have to really do anything else to it. So on the flip side, it'll look like this. It'll have this kind of ridge to it, but usually when I put my scarf on, this is the part I put right behind my neck. Nobody's going to notice it. So with that, I just chop those off and just kind of hide them in the stitches, or try to. You could cut it closer, but sometimes I like to know that there's still a little bit of it left. Then flip it over and find the string that we were using to connect the two halves. Don't really need to do anything else with this, so do like you do with the other strings, kind of cut them a little bit and tuck them into the scarf so you can't really see them. And if you can see them, if you can't tuck them, just cut them off. It's not going to make that big of a difference. And then what you have is a completed scarf, completed infinity scarf, to be worn as such. So there you have it. If you have any questions, well, this is for my friend, so she has my phone number. You can text me or call me. I hope your scarf turns out really well. Thanks.